केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
The Newshour Special Edition.
Hello and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us here on Times Now. This is the Newshour Special Edition this Saturday evening, and I'm Heena Gambhir. We were just a couple of days ahead of Prime Minister Modi and President Trump meeting on the sidelines of the Group of Seven or G7 meet in France. The United States of America has fired an irritant between the diplomatic ties. Now, viewers, way short of a win against Iran in a war after 3.5 months, the US has been trying to exhibit military supremacy by hitting and halting commercial ships in the shipping channels near Iran. Since April 13, the US forces have disabled 8 ships and turned back home more than 100 others. But on Thursday, US forces targeted 3 foreign-flagged merchant vessels with Indian crew members. The strike on the vessels off Oman killed 3 Indian sailors. Oman's armed forces rescued over 60 Indian crew members from these 3 vessels. A miffed Indian Foreign Ministry summoned the US Chargé d'Affaires in New Delhi twice in 3 days to convey its deepest concerns over the ongoing attacks. Then, last night, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar dialed U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio to register India's protest against American attacks on commercial ships. He told his American counterpart that such lethal actions against commercial shipping are not justified. The U.S., far from a win and doubtful of a peace accord with Iran, decided to brazen it. White House tersely responded by laying down that all commercial vessels should immediately comply with orders from the U.S. forces in the Strait of Hormuz, and that violations of the U.S. blockade and the illicit transport of Iranian oil will not be tolerated. Now, viewers, Marco Rubio himself did not post it. His message came via the principal deputy spokesperson, Tommy Pigott. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump accused Iran of trying to carry out a drone attack on Indian ships leaving the Strait of Hormuz. He said it was totally unacceptable. Interestingly, while the U.S. military's Central Command claims the Set Bellows crew repeatedly failed to comply with directions from American forces, the ship's manager, as per reports, rejected claims that it ignored warnings or was carrying Iranian crude. Viewers, while the government deals with a tricky geopolitical situation, back at home, the political knives are out. Rahul Gandhi led the charge against the Prime Minister. He posted on social media that 3 Indians have been killed in U.S. attacks on 3 ships in international waters within 3 days. And from our compromised PM, not a single word has come. When any foreign power murders an Indian, the Prime Minister has to speak up. But he can never utter one word. This is what Rahul Gandhi has said. He's posted this on X. Interestingly, his view wasn't shared earlier by ex-diplomat and Congress MP Shashi Tharoor. Shashi Tharoor seemed to strongly support the government of India's swift and firm response in calling out this unacceptable overreach by summoning the U.S. Chargé d'Affaires to lodge a strong protest and forcefully raising the matter at the United Nations. According to Dr. Tharoor, New Delhi has made it clear that Indian lives are not acceptable collateral damage. Now, on Rahul Gandhi's cue, the members of India-U.S. bloc, including the Samajwadi Party, questioned Prime Minister Modi's silence. The BJP hit back by saying that diplomatic relations cannot run on mood swings of the LOP, and whatever needs to be done for the safety and security of Indian nationals is being done. Former Foreign Secretary and Rajya Sabha MP Harsh Shringla said that Delhi did the right thing. Listen in.
Our country's Prime Minister has not uttered a single word condemning the killing of Indians. And what is this way of calling an official of US Embassy and showing our displeasure by issuing a marche or whatever it is called? ये क्या हो रहा भाई? Those people are pleading for help. That ship is on fire. You don't even come and help them. We must thank the Omani government for helping us. At least they came and rescued those people. Otherwise, all of them would have been dead by now.
Did you hear speaking our Honorable Prime Minister, the Bis Guru? Why is silent? Why the BJP hawks think that the Prime Minister is only for him? I mean them. He's our Prime Minister also. And he's being insulted every now and then by Trump and American administration.
देखिए ऐसा है कि सरकार ने बहुत स्ट्रांगली उसको कंडेम किया है और देश के हित में, देश के लोगों के हित में, देश की सुरक्षा के हित में जो भी मजबूती के साथ कदम उठाने की जरूरत है वो उठा रही है सरकार.
It is a very tragic occurrence, I would say, which led to the loss of three of our citizens in the Strait of Hormuz. But it is a complex situation. There are risks involved, and I think we did the right thing by bringing this to the attention of the U.S. authorities through a formal demand.
Now, viewers, later tonight, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be reaching France and then he will also be attending the G7 summit. Many experts are of the view that India must use the summit and the killing of its nationals to flag the loopholes in international law on violence against civilian shipping and targeting of unarmed sailors. So tonight, we discussed with our panel of experts, is the opposition's charge against the Indian response valid? Have the Trump-led U.S. forces crossed a line in the Strait of Hormuz? And should the U.S. be allowed to choke commercial vessel movement and thus punish the world while its target is Iran? And joining us on this debate this evening is Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, Tara Karta, former Director, National Security Council Secretariat, Sierra Claire, foreign policy analyst, Tushar Gupta, who is a political analyst. Also joining us is Syed Asad Abbas, who is a political analyst as well. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us here on Times Now on Newshour Special Edition Saturday evening. Ms. Tara Karta, to you first. We'll talk about what Marco Rubio has said, how America has responded. But first up, I want to ask you, what happens when the civilians become collateral damage in a volatile region from a country which has nothing at all to do with the conflict?
What happened is a tragedy. There's no two ways about it. It was uncalled for. Let's keep that very clear. They could have, certainly, you use force, you enforce a blockade. No, I'm fine with that. But did you have to shoot the whole ship? There are ways of stopping a ship. I'm sure if they had just fired a shot across the boat, the ship would have stopped. These are merchant ships. They have no weapons at all. I want to repeat what I said. I have nothing against them stopping the ship. It was, after all, in an area where there was a blockade. It had no business being there, period. But what is wrong is the way they did it. This excessive use of force, a blockade, by the way, which has not been notified in the United Nations. There is who's running the blockade? Who has given it legality? So there are a lot of questions here, but all the same, in terms of, the facts are that that ship, a merchant vessel, I think it had changed names a couple of times. It was part of a shadow fleet. It was not a sanctioned ship. It was not in a sanctioned list, but it was where it was not supposed to be. So there's not much that as a government that you can do. It's not your ship. It's your citizens. And having said that, what we've done, I think, is the right thing. You've condemned it, you've called them, and demarches are very strong. As the ambassador will agree, these are very strong moves when you summon a US, then say this is not on. You've said it to the UN. That's all you can do. But further, one hope that this doesn't happen again. This is definitely use of excessive force.
Right. And Ms. Tara Karta, stay on with us, and I want to quickly take our viewers through the latest update that we've got right now. After the response we got from the White House, we have reactions that have started pouring in here in India too, as US remains unapologetic over death of 3 Indian sailors. Now we have a reaction coming in from Congress MP Dr. Shashi Tharoor, and he has said that how can a friend be so insensitive? There is no regret, no condolence that has come from the United States of America. An American approach, Dr. Shashi Tharoor has said, is unacceptable. So a reaction there coming in from Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who earlier seemed to agree with the kind of action Indian government is taking. He, in a way, supported India's response to this, and now clearly, Dr. Shashi Tharoor is raising questions on America's response. And Ambassador Sajjanhar, this is what I would like to talk to you about. Look at kind of response we've got from America. Firstly, it's not Marco Rubio himself who's putting out a post. Here in India, Mr. S. Jaishankar himself put out a post giving us details of the conversation he had with Marco Rubio, U.S. Secretary of State. But from the other side, just look at the kind of response that has come. U.S. in a way just trying to say that there have been casualties. So what? Live with it. You have to comply with American orders.
Yeah, thank you very much, Heena, for having me on the show. So I think you made 2 very valid points. Number one, what is the stand that the government has taken after these attacks on 3 ships and after the killing of 3 Indian nationals? I think the fact that India has summoned, and that's a strong word, and I agree with Tara what she has said. Summoned the charge of affairs. We summoned the ambassador, actually. We asked ambassador to come to the foreign office. But the ambassador is traveling. He's not in town. I understand he's in Kazakhstan. He's gone to present his credentials to the president in Kazakhstan. So he's not here. So the number 2, the CDA charge affairs, he was summoned. And he was not summoned once, he was summoned twice. I think that reflects the gravity of the situation with which India is viewing this, India is observing this. So one, it has been done as far as the Ministry of External Affairs in India is concerned and the American Embassy. Then we have taken it up by the External Affairs Minister with the Secretary of State, with Marco Rubio. And I think as far, and what Mr. Oaisi was saying that, the Indian ship did not go out to help, that is not true. When one of the ships was hit and there was supposed to be some sort of, missile that was in the engine room that had not gone off, then it was both Indian and Omani vessels which went there and rescued it. So I think India is doing everything possible. Okay. Second point, what Dr. Shashi Tharoor has said, I fully agree with him. Because I think the United States, Heena, is supposed to be our comprehensive global strategic partner. What does it mean? That, you are sensitive to each other's concerns.
Right.
This is total insensitivity.
Okay.
That, you say that this thing has happened. Meaning, if Mr. Trump is saying that it is the Iranians who have come and shot the Indian ships, and he is deploring, he is criticizing and condemning. So he should be criticizing and condemning his own CENTCOM forces. Who have actually gone there and done that. Okay. The last point, I would make is that, when one U.S. Marine is stranded in Iran, you see the sort of operation that the United States launches to get that person out. Right. So that life is valuable. Indian lives are equally valuable.
That's a valid point you've made. Do Indian lives not really matter to American forces, to America? Because Sierra Claire, Donald Trump keeps on saying that he loves India, and when Marco Rubio was here in India, there was a phone call that was made to Sergio Gore that was put on speaker during an event at Bharat Mandapam here in the national capital. And there also Trump expressed that how, India can really count on him 100%. But look what is really happening. No empathy at all. This is also violation of Geneva Convention, which protects wounded, sick and shipwrecked military personnel at sea?
Well, I would say let's look at the style of Secretary Rubio and when we know who we're dealing with, I think it helps explain a lot. Secretary Rubio's approach as he has said, is to say that, we want to work with countries where we have overlapping interests, and every country should put their country first. So India first, America first. Every country should do this, and we respect their right to do that. And we hope they respect our right to do it for ourselves. So, when we're not seeing a statement from Secretary Rubio, I'm wondering if it's because he feels like India's putting India first and America's putting America first, and there's nothing really more to be said about this situation.
With due respect, 3 Indian sailors have been killed. 3 innocent Indians have been killed. I mean, they could have expressed remorse, condolences, something. It was a very terse message that has come from the White House. What does it say? What is the message America, is really trying to give right now? Moments before, we got another confirmation from White House that there is going to be a meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump on the sidelines of G7 summit.
Yeah, I mean, you can agree with the approach or not. I personally would think that condolences would be expressed, there have been a lot of innocent lives that have been lost in this conflict, though. So I think it's important to remember that as well, that this isn't about not giving sympathy to India or Indian lives. America expresses sympathy for every innocent life that has been lost in this conflict. And that's one of the reasons why we want to bring an end to the Iranian regime.
This is not a style issue. Firstly, 3 Indians have been killed. U.S. forces did not even go for post-strike rescue. And second, this is not a war that India has started. This is a war that Trump has launched. And if Indians are losing their lives, and if U.S. thinks India is a friend, then this is not what friends do.
Well, again, I go back to putting America first. President Trump believes that the Iran conflict threatens American national security, so that's the most important thing for President Trump and for Secretary Rubio. But of course, I think expressing condolences to our friends, would be something that would help a lot in this situation.
But it hasn't happened, Tushar. Did Mark Rubio's message come as a shock to you, or were you expecting something like this?
No, the ruthlessness and the coldness of the Americans is not unknown. Sarah Claire here says that the Americans are empathetic towards every innocent life lost, but it's the Americans who are taking those innocent lives, no one else. The Americans started that war. The Americans are in the Middle East without an exit strategy. The Americans are now launching a blockade in the Hormuz, which is impacting the global economy. If anything, it's the Americans who are the problem right now. Before February 28, you had the Hormuz open, you had Iranians where they were, and we are in June right now, mid-June. The Hormuz remains blocked. And what is America negotiating for? It is negotiating for the Hormuz to remain open, which was the case before the war started. So when someone says that, America is empathetic towards every innocent life lost, my question is, do you really not introspect and understand that you are the ones who are causing that problem in the first place? Shadow fleet or not, sanctioned or not, a ship that was having the Indian flag or not. At the end of the day, the crude reality is that Indian sailors died. Would the Americans would have given it a second thought had these been Chinese sailors or sailors from any part of the world? That is the problem with the White House right now. There is contempt of law and there is contempt of common sense. They themselves do not realize who they are going for a war against. Is it the Iranians? Is it the global economy? Is it the Indians? Is it the Chinese? Who is it really they're fighting right now? Because the way Trump is reacting every single day on social media, from a distance it appears he's fighting ghosts in his head. And all you expect Americans to do is to issue an apology because Indian lives have been lost at sea. Sailors, all of 20-odd-year-old, only doing their job. But because of the whimsical personality of Donald Trump, they have lost their lives. The families have lost their kids. And you can't
not even get an apology out of them. This is not contempt of law, Heena. This is contempt of common sense and good diplomacy. The Americans are actually going back 10, 20, 30 years with the kind of regressive president they right now have running the Oval Office.
Okay. Mr. Kartha, how can this be friendship really? Won't it be then a transactional relationship, going by what Sarah Claire has said, going by what the kind of messages we are getting from the White House? And do you think this could probably lead to, a second season of what we saw between India and the US last year?
I think that's a very good question, Heena. I know a lot of us worked very hard on this relationship. And when we were in service, we did a lot of things to bring it to where it was 6 months ago. I hoped it would continue, but with this kind of thing, it's going to be very, very difficult because you don't have trust. What kind of a relationship can you have with any country? I'm not saying that the global system is full of trust, it's not. But some minimal sense of decency, as the previous speaker said, a minimal level of what is right and what is wrong. That's all you're asking. I would appreciate if you just say, okay, Rubal said commercial vessels must comply with orders, however we regret the loss of lives. That's all you needed. One line, and you can't say that. And that shows, I'm sorry to say this, it shows a contempt for other countries, for other ethnicities. Their lives don't matter. If a white guy dies, it's huge. If we die, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a pertinent point you've raised, Ms. Tara Kartha. Syed Asad Abbas, is it the moment to really criticize the Indian government or the Americans?
I've always believed, Heenaji, with great power, there's great responsibility and equal accountability. I couldn't agree more on the panel with my friend Tushar or even Taraji. Where my bone of contention or discontentment comes in is what Ciara ma'am has said. Ma'am, let us understand that, your apology or the condolences you said is very generic, that the US condemns all or condoles to all the lives lost. No, ma'am, this is not about all lives and other conflicts or wars. This is between two friends, India and the United States of America, who have generationally has been long-standing friends with business, with international relations, and so on and so forth. Let us understand our Honorable Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, who enjoys this great friendship with Donald Trump. The fact is, yes, Donald Trump, Marco Rubio are responsible for those 3 innocent lives lost. But also, I believe, Heenaji, that there needs to be at least one tweet coming from our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, condoling this death and also condemning what the United States have done with this front. Because he represents not one voice, two voice, 140 crore Indians. And like Tara ji said, I agree.
Why is it that only politicians or those who support political parties have problems with how New Delhi has reacted? Because former diplomats who also happen to be politicians from the opposition are okay with the kind of response India has shown in this particular case. I was talking about Dr. Shashi Tharoor specifically. He supported the swift way in which India reacted.
Keeping the emotions aside, the mindlessness which is going on right now in the Persian Gulf, even the government on its best day is restricted when it comes to the options on how it chooses to react. But why is the opposition or some in the opposition already concluding that the reaction has been delivered or the response has been delivered? The Prime Minister is set to meet President Donald Trump in France, and there will be a conversation about the sailors. There will be a conversation about a lot of things, but the primary conversation would revolve around what has happened to these sailors and the ships they were going on in. And let's be very honest, shadow fleets are not uncommon. Let's not pretend that shadow fleets have only been discovered after the war started in the Hormuz Strait. They've always been there. But this mindless firing, Tomahawk missiles on a shadow fleet, I have never heard about this before. And let's reverse the situation. What if these were American sailors? What if American missiles ended up shooting American sailors? Because I'm quite sure that American administration cannot vouch for nationality or the ethnicity of the sailors in the shadow fleet. Or are they not telling us that they can and they knew who was in those ships and yet they fired? That's the question that need to ask the Americans.
Well, absolutely. And I'm sure that this is going to also find some kind of mention when Prime Minister Modi meets US President Donald Trump on the sidelines of G7 summit. We'll, of course, be tracking all the developments from France as well. For now, thank you very much, all of you, for joining us here on this debate. Heading into a very short break.